Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of Real and Virtual Outdoors. On today's episode we're going to talk about crappie fishing. I'm going to hit some key points about a beginner in crappie fishing, kind of equipment you'll need. I'm going to show you a few of the artificial lures / jigs that I use for crappie fishing. And we're going to talk about how you can get started. This is going to be a beginner's video, not a video for the seasoned crappie fisherman. It's just to help someone that's trying to begin. So let's talk about rod and reel. You do not need a $100 rod and a $100 reel and some special $20 line to start crappie fishing. I've been crappie fishing since I was 10 years old. Without telling you how old I am, that's about 40 years ago. My preference reel is a spin cast because I have a disability. I have a deformity of my hands from a birth defect. It prevents me from really using a bait caster and a spinning reel. I have too many issues with getting line wrapped around the handles, tangled up, and backlashes, and etc., etc. I use a Zepco 202. It's probably the cheapest reel on the market. It is very sufficient to catch crappies. You do not need a $100 reel. Save that for down the road. To begin with, get you a reel and rod combination. You can buy them at Walmart, whether they're Zepcos or the Shakespeare's for $20. It comes pre-spooled with line. If you buy one pre-spool with line, spend an extra $5 and get you some line. It doesn't hurt to put new line on it, better line. There's a lot of good line manufacturers out there. Stren is one of my favorites. Mr. Crappie, Suffolk's, Berkeley. A lot of the line that come pre-spooled on these reels today, when you buy them as a all-in-one package, have a lot of memory. So I'd suggest you change the line. If you're going to start out jig fishing, and that's what I do 100% of the time, I jig fish year-round. Artificial lures, I believe, is the way to go. But if you're going to start out jig fishing, I would tell you that you need to pair those jigs with a 4 to 6 pound line, maybe 8, if you're fishing around docks. If you're fishing around standing trees, you probably need to go with a bigger, heavier line. You might even consider a braid because of the abrasion resistance. Braid line is another video. We're not going to get into that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube to learn how to use braid line and how to tie leaders on it. We're going to talk about some jigs now, some things that I use, and what you need to buy to get started. If you're going to jig fish, learn your knots. Learn how to tie a knot, a fishing knot, tie your jigs on. Save you a lot of time. YouTube's a great place to do that. You can learn several different knots on YouTube without spending a bunch of time. I use a product called a snap, and I'm going to show you that now, and I hope we can get this on camera. You can buy these pretty much anywhere. I bought this little red snap at Bass Pro Shops. How this works is you tie this onto the line on one end, and it just pops open like so. Push down on it, push it over, pops open. So now we're going to put a crappie jig on it. I like to use these, and you'll see why. I know you didn't get to see me put that on because it was out of the view of the camera, but it is on there. That's opened, put on, and closed. It's the number one snap. If you can't see the tie, or you have hand trouble like I do, the snaps are a lifesaver. So let's talk about the jigs that I use. Since I've already got this one up here, we're going to talk about this tube jig. Just a basic tube. White color. Nothing special about it. That's paired on a 1 16th ounce jig head. I use tubes year round. Summertime, tube jigs are a wonderful tool. I probably catch more of my fish on tube jigs in the hot summer months and Lake Louisville, where I fish, than any other jig. Tube jigs are cheap and they come in a variety of colors. Don't go out and buy 50 colors of jigs because you don't need it. Go out and buy 12, 13 colors of jigs, maybe 14, maybe 15, and that's probably getting a little high. Don't do like I do and go out and buy every color you see, because most of that stuff's made to catch fishermen more than it is to catch fish. 10 colors of different varieties is the best thing to do. It keeps your decision making down on what color to go to as a beginner. If you're fishing a jig and you know you're around some fish, you can see them on a graph, or you've been to a place where you know they've been before, and you're not catching any fish in 20 minutes, get off of that color. I change jigs often. If it's not happening, I'm moving on to the next color. Let's talk about different type of jigs. This is a Bobby Garland. Get that in focus for you. That is a 2-inch baby shad. This one is in the Cajun cricket color. The jig is green on the bottom and orange on the top. I've got it turned upside down because I've got it clamped with clamps on the hook. Good thing about these jigs is if you use these jigs, they do mimic a shad in the water, but they also can be turned over in the opposite direction. If you're using this jig in the morning and you're catching them and they quit biting it, take the jig off, turn it over where the orange is on the bottom and the green is on the top, because crappies feed in an up direction. If you're fishing too deep, crappie will not see your lure. So these double colored jigs, you could just turn that jig over and you kind of got a jig. It can be fished 2 different colors at different times of the day. Baby shad, Bobby Garland. let's talk about the old Marabou Standby. This is a basic Marabou yellow hand-tied jig. Well, probably machine tied. Made by Marabou. Several other companies make them. It's a hair jig, very effective. Been around for hundreds of years. Works great in the wintertime. Catches a lot of fish. Relatively cheap. Relatively basic. The only knock on these jigs is they're very cheap to buy and very cheap to make. The hooks are not that sharp on them, and they do fall apart eventually. Should be noted that you might go through quite a few of these, but at $2 a card, which you get about 12 on a card, you can't beat it. Wintertime bait. Wintertime, springtime. And of course, I saved the best for the last. And the best for the last is this jig. And the reason it's the best is just because it's mine. I tied this. I've been tying jigs 30 years. This crappie jig here is hand tied by me. And before I get 100 emails, I do not sell jigs. I'm not in the jig selling business. Takes up too much time. I get to spend more time fishing than if I did when I tied jigs and sold. So I don't do it anymore. I do for myself, and I do for a few other people that help me out to get to the water. You'll see that's got a little blue flash in it. We're going to have a video on these jigs. Show you how to tie these. I've been tying these jigs the same way for 30 years. And I probably got 18 cents in that one jig. That's it. Simple to do. Very toughly built. I caught 200 fish on one jig. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about today is fish attractant. There's all kinds of fish attractant out there. As a beginner, I think you need to use some sort of fish attractant. Fish attractant will help you catch fish. It is not a miracle. Just because you spray it on your lure doesn't mean the fish are going to come running at the dinner bell. But it will help you catch fish. I suggest you buy some Berkeley nibbles, crappie nibbles, chartreuse, white, pink. The glitter ones catch fish. They melt in the water. They put a scent cloud around the jig, and they're a great product. Also, a product that I use often is Bang Fish Attractant, garlic, and I use some Yum. Get 2 different kinds to start out with. See which one the fish prefer on that day, and go with that flavor that day. The next day may be totally different. Same way on color. You might have caught them on blue and white on Sunday, and on Monday morning they won't touch it. They want something totally different. Stay on the jig 20 minutes, move on. Stay on the brush pile if you're in the boat a few minutes. If you can't get them to bite after you switch jigs 3 or 4 times, get on the motor and move on. If you're dock fishing and you're like I do, and you're fishing in maybe a crappie house or something, try to walk around and hit individual spots, dark corners, trees, a different tree, a different location, change jigs. When you're dock fishing, you're kind of at the mercy of whether the fish are there or not. And I got to tell you, I've been at the mercy of that a lot this week. I haven't done very well at all. But when the weather's changing and it's 80 one day and 50 the next, fishing's pretty tough. I hope that I've given you some tips to start out to learn to crappie fish. If you have questions about a particular topic, you can always email me. My email address is in the about and will be in the description in this video. We're going to do some future videos. We're going to talk about proper way to fish brush pile, how you should do it. We're going to do some jig tying. We're going to have some other information. And I'm going to talk to you about doing a little bit of bass fishing for someone maybe that has a disability that's hard on them to do a lot of casting and retrieving. And we're going to show you some techniques that you can do to catch some nice bass without putting a lot of effort physically into doing it. I hope you will subscribe to Real and Virtual Outdoors. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I ask that you click that notification bell and give me a thumbs up. I hope you have a good week of fishing.